Alright, hello there ladies and gentlemen, Mole Trap here. This is game number 3 of the third place match from the Ever OSL from 2007. This is on Blue Storm, and this is BC versus Magic. And very exciting series thus far. This has been really fun to cast. Really looking forward to this game. Bisu, obviously one of the Protoss stars of all time, and Magic, very creative player, has made for some interesting situations happening with his strange builds, both versus Jaedong and now versus Bisu as well. And you know, Bisu, it's interesting because Bisu is known as, you know, probably maybe the best Protoss versus Zerg player ever. I mean, at the very least, he invented modern Protoss versus Zerg, and the PvZ play that is still played to this day. So you got to hand it to him for that. He's just an ace, and he has such a high record of that. Not necessarily as good versus Terran. He's still good versus all races. He's exceptionally good in every matchup. But when I was checking out the cast that Diggity and I did of the other semifinal, I was reminded of the fact that this is actually just on the heels of Bisu losing to Mind in the MSL. So this is an interesting situation where, you know, is Bisu's Protoss versus Terran maybe not tip top, and maybe Magic can pull a little bit of an upset here and actually defeat him. And anyway, I wish I can read Korean Hangul, which Hangul is the Korean characters, but I don't actually understand enough or read it fast enough to tell what those say usually when they pop up on screen very quickly, unfortunately. Maybe sometime I'll go back and try and look at those, but it looked like they were actually, those are called cheer pulls, and they're usually saying something about the player that they like or something like that, but I believe that last one was actually a shout out to the caster. The Korean casters are also very well known as well, and the main caster here is his name is Kim, and he's known as Kim Carrier because he just likes carriers, and he gets really excited when there's carriers in the game. He actually is mining gas. Oh, not just planting the mana assimilator, but steals the gas from his assimilator. Wow. Only 4,992 gas for you, Magic. Is he gonna mine minerals now and then mine more gas? Do it. Do it, you won't, Bisu. No, he's not gonna be able to. That Marine is out, so he's gonna have to run the probe away in order to save it, escape with his gas, and get back to his base unharmed. So anyway, I wonder if that's what it looked like. There was a little icon of someone with the microphones. That's why I thought it was a cheer pull for the caster. I wonder if they were talking about the fact that there were carriers in this matchup. Anyway, so we're seeing Magic make a nice little wall at his front door. We're seeing 2 gateways from Bisu as well, by the way. So he's gonna try and put on some pressure. The wall with the Marines behind it means that he won't have to try and micro and completely fail at his micro, and so Magic will be able to survive a little bit longer. And this is interesting. So he built a barracks in his main, and he built, what is that? Actually, I didn't see it. They just clicked on it and I missed it. Is that another barracks, or is that a command center he's building? And he's, oh. What? Okay, so he's started building the barracks. Oh, so that's just for the purposes of a wall. Okay, and he's started building a second barracks so that he can have the wall there, but he's left it unfinished so that he can cancel it and get the minerals back later on. So, in any case, not surprising to see Bisu build a second gateway here. Normally, I think you would probably want to do one gateway into an expansion. Oh, is it going to land it? Is it going to get the Zealot in? Oh, no! He didn't time it quite right. Oh no! The Zealot gets in. Magic, no! Why? You could have just waited. You could have just waited. Oh no! This is. We're gonna see another early game screw up. He's not micro his Marine. What are you doing, Magic? He's having to fight the Zealot with SCVs now. He needs to go repair that barracks. I'm sorry, that supply depot. Otherwise, more Zealots are going to get in. He's going to try and kill off. And what is he doing? Oh, no. No, Marine, where are you going? Okay, the Marine is now going to be able to micro against this, but he needs to repair that. The SCV shouldn't be attacking. Well, I guess the Zealot is almost dead, so he could be attacking it maybe. But this Zealot, crucially, is getting a huge scout in as well. What is he doing? Okay, Magic is just apparently bad at micro in the early game, I guess, because Okay, now that he's repairing that, and the other Zealot is low health enough that the SCVs should be able to combat it. But this is just, I mean, this is just catastrophic. So he's going to kill that Zealot off, and now he's going to be able to repair the supply depot. But we're seeing 2 factories here. An extra command center has been built in the background as well, which I believe Bisu was able to get a scout on. So it's not like this is like a 2-factory all-in or anything like that. I mean, he could theoretically just all-in, I guess. But it looks like he's going to try and use these 2 factories to secure his natural expansion. Is more likely. And SCV has actually gone across the map and has managed to just walk right into Bisu's base. I thought there were Dragoons stopping that from happening, but I guess not. So, the Dragoon has been sent around the map in order to try and do some more harassment of the front door. So the SCV gets in there, scouts everything that's going on, sees the robotics facility, is not able to stay alive long enough to see what the follow-up is. Okay, we got two machine shops working hard right now. And that to me indicates vulture speed and vulture mines. That's kind of what I'm thinking is what's going to happen here. He's going to be trying to put out a lot of vultures. The second command center means he's going to be able to get a lot of mineral intake very quickly and make use of the 2 factories to put out lots of vultures is kind of what I'm expecting here. Although, actually, now that I say that and I think about it, I also think, no, it's probably mines and siege tech. Because if he doesn't get siege tech, he's dead. So that's probably the more likely case. Anyway, we're seeing some vultures microing around here, trying to sneak by and do some damage to the Zealots. Just putting some counter pressure on, I guess, buying himself some time. But is he going to lose a tank? Oh my gosh, he's going to lose a tank. It looks like he's going to lose both tanks. Is he going to lose both tanks? He needs to repair that tank. He needs to fall it back. He does fall it back. The mines get planted down and do some significant damage to his own vultures. So, it looks like I was right the first time, actually. So he did make vulture speed and mines. So that's really interesting. I'm surprised he didn't get siege tech, actually. I saw those 2 siege tanks, and I thought, well, the siege tanks are going to be a lot better if he has siege tech as well. But it looks like he has not gone for the siege tech yet. He may be getting it in the background, but in the meantime, Bisu has gotten robotics support bay. He's gotten a reave route, another starport for Up Magic. I think it's called Up Magic because up in the air is where his units are every game. He doesn't tend to stay on the ground. Preparing that tank just outside, and that tank is dead. Boom. Boom, along with the SCV that came with it. Screw you and the SCV you came in on. Or something like that. Wraith is out, or is going to be out pretty soon, I'm imagining. The Wraith, again, is going to be a really nice counter to the shuttle, though. He knows that the robotics, he knew that the robotics facility was there, so getting the starport ahead of time in order to have a Wraith to deal with the shuttle is a really smart move. Putting down turrets as well. The vultures are going to be able to fire much faster. Well, the vultures are going to be able to fire fast, I should say, along with the tank, if they're on the low ground, if they're not, if it's unsieged. So he can't quite pop out the Reaver is my point. I'm not really making it very eloquently, but he can't quite pop out the Reaver to try and take pot shots because he'll take too much damage to that Reaver, I think. The Wraith is going to be out soon as well, and I think he knows that, so he probably needs to just retreat with that Reaver, get back to the support of his Dragoons. And it looks like Up Magic is working to... Oh, I actually didn't see that. Okay, there's the fleet beacon, second Stargate. So I thought I saw a second Stargate, but I was like, you wouldn't make 2 Stargates without a fleet beacon. And so Bisu is making carriers once again. Up Magic has moved down to secure that 3rd base, whereas Bisu is just basically secured his 2nd base, although... he could easily move up and try and take that 3rd. Again, on this map on Blue Storm, the 3rd base that's closer at hand is a mineral-only base, so that's something that's crucial to think about in this case. So yeah, Up Magic did go for, he has Siege Tech now obviously, but he did go for Vulture Speed and mines in order to just try and take control of the ground game that way rather than using Siege Tech, and it succeeded. He was able to fight off, and he did lose a tank kind of carelessly, but he was able to fight off that ground attack, the little bit of pressure that was going on. Maintains control of the Wraith. I should say maintains. What I mean is he's kept the Wraith alive. He was going in and trying to pick off the shuttle, but he actually kept the Wraith alive, so that's going to be a nice thing to have as well. If he goes in to try and do an attack with that shuttle. I feel like I can't talk today for some reason. But yeah, so Up Magic securing the 3rd base. Bisu is actually looking to secure this bottom base, which is not a mineral only. It's a little bit harder to defend because of the fact that you don't have a really easy land route to get there if you want to reinforce your own base there. but he's actually, looks like he's taking multiple base at once. He's taken a third base at the mineral only, and he's walled off the bottom base as well in order to take a fourth base there at some point, which he's aware of the fact that Up Magic is taking the third base, so that makes sense that you kind of want to out-expand the Terran a little bit as the Protoss player. So if the Terran has 3 bases, you want 4. Terran gets a 4th, you want a 5th. Or you want to crush the 4th. But usually that's the game you have to play as the Protoss. Is the Terran, I mean, the Terran race is the best at just hunkering down and bunkering in and tanking up and just being unassailable. And so usually the Protoss player has to play a game of, okay, well, if you're getting more stuff, I'm going to have to just get more bases. If you're getting more bases, I'm going to have to get even more bases and just beat you in the econ game. Max out and just be able to have a big battle and remax faster. That's kind of the macro game that we see in Protoss versus Terran most of the time. So that's what we see Bisu doing. It looks like he's going to try and take 4 bases pretty soon. These tanks are saying, nope, you're not going to secure this base, though. Bisu may take the top left base instead in exchange. And here we're seeing a little bit of Up Magic's first-person view, darting around the map, trying to see what's going on. Building more factories as well in his third base location. So nothing too interesting to see there, just a little bit of macro play. But there's the carriers are out now. We're going to have the 3rd and 4th carriers popping out before too long as well. A 4th command center going in the bottom right. So Bisu is going to fall behind if he doesn't either do some damage by either some kind of a harassment or an attack. And the 3rd base is relatively vulnerable. Not vulnerable, but relatively vulnerable compared to the natural expansion. It's almost impossible to kill off the natural expansion in this map, especially if you're going through the middle, because. Yeah, I mean, when the 3rd base is protected, you can't just bypass it and go for the natural, because there's a tiny choke point that's actually so small that I think Dragoons can't fit through it, if I remember correctly. So he's going to have to take out the 3rd, but the 3rd is relatively vulnerable because it's got a wide open space next to it. He's got a lot of tanks, but you know, a full frontal assault could do enough damage that he could break in there. But it looks like Up Magic is actually just trying to play the super long game here. And this is something that we also see on this map a lot. I'm remembering now. It's all coming back to me that there's this kind of wide trough in the middle. You can see that observer floating along it right now. There's kind of a low ground in the middle of the map. And you often see, especially in TVT, but also in PVT, you often see players just set up on either side of this long, wide ramp in the middle and just divide the map diagonally, basically, and try and control the bottom of the top, basically. And here we go in, though. These carriers are out now, and it looks like it's not a surprise to Up Magic since he does that 2nd starport. He's got a lot of Goliaths out as well, so he's dealing some significant damage here. But the Goliaths are a little bit limited in their ability. I don't believe the Goliaths can walk through the middle there, through that choke point. We'll find out right now. Yeah, so the Goliaths are just stopped up on that spot, and they can't get in there to defend the natural. They'd have to walk all the way around, so he's having to just defend on the Goliaths that are in his base, basically, to fall back and deal with these interceptors. Bisu has taken that top left base, and he's doing significant damage. I think he was able to get most of the SCVs out alive, so not a ton of economic damage done to Up Magic at this point. Starting to produce a lot of Wraiths, it looks like. I don't know if he has a building Cloak or not. He may already have Cloak at this point, I'm not sure. But yeah, so we see Bisu also taking the top part of that middle trough in the middle. So we're just going to see them divide the map in half, essentially, and go into a longer macro game. Bisu doing a good job of harassing with these... good job of harassing with these carriers. That is, I mean, obviously the carriers are the anti-siege, right? If you've got siege tanks and just a giant wall of stuff that you can't attack on the ground, the carriers are the way to break the ground. So, and this is a good map for the carriers as well. As you can see, he's able to use the terrain. There's a lot of terrain aspects, the terrain features that make it so that the carriers can float over them and around them, and the Goliaths obviously cannot fly. So the carriers are really good on this map for kind of being able to be mobile. Usually carriers are not very mobile, but the fact that this map is constructed well for them to be used is really nice. And we do see a scan. I think he's scanning for observers. I don't know if there's observers. If he has Cloak, he could easily go in and wipe out these carriers. There they go. They're going in. There's the scan. He scans. He doesn't see an observer. And he goes in with the cloak raised. Bisu doesn't have any observers. He's continually scanning to try and see if there's observers in the air. There is one in the background. He's going to lose. Oh, and he starts getting attacked by the Wraiths, so he's actually able to fall back. He didn't know where that observer was. He may have been out of scan energy. It looks like he only has one comsat. Only has one comsat station, I think. But those cloak rays are going to crucially at least keep those carriers at bay for now. And some of them are very low on health as well. Here he is moving into the main ramp though, and I think this is a little bit suicidal for Bisu. There's too many tanks in here. The carriers are picking off the tanks though. If he can pick off the tanks well enough with the carriers, he might be able to do enough damage. The Wraiths are coming in. He can't defend the carriers from the Wraiths with his Dragoons and combat the Goliath at the same time, and he's forced to fall back with all of the above. The Wraiths do take significant damage. It looks like he lost a few of the Wraiths. The carriers shifted their attention away from the tanks onto the Wraiths, so he lost 3 or 4 of the Wraiths, it looks like, but he crucially has maintained his tank advantage on the ground. There's only a handful of Dragoons left, and it looks like Up Magic just has way too many tanks to deal with this ground army, and he's lost some carriers in the meantime as well. The Wraiths are there as well now, going back at the carriers. Looks like he's taken out that observer. There's another observer over the Terran army, but he's not in position to defend the carriers. And so Up Magic is actually able to defeat the ground army, and Bisu, who's just going for a distraction attack, has sent the last 6 of his Dragoons up into the bottom right base of Up Magic, and that's actually a pretty good move because they were obviously not able to defeat that ground army straight up, as you can see them being obliterated by it right now, but he drew him back. So he's basically forcing Up Magic to abandon his middle position, be a little bit off guard, keeping him from counterattacking with full force and full effect, while Bisu is able to lick his wounds and rebuild his carrier army, get some more observers out to make sure those Wraiths can't cripple him anymore. But crucially, he does have to take that time to recuperate, and so Up Magic is not able to capitalize on that moment, but neither is Bisu at this point. So Up Magic be able to get back here into the middle and take control of the middle of the map again. We did see Up Magic going out with some vultures to kind of do some harassment to try and keep Bisu back as well. But Up Magic looks like he's going to try and move across the middle of the map, moving across that diagonal line. But again, carriers and shuttles can just go across the boundaries of the map and attack that natural expansion, and because his forces are all forward, there's not really a lot he can do. He's just going to have to depend on his rallied forces, his units that are popping out of his factories. But we might see a sandwich here, though. Oh, if he can get some Goliaths in his main and some Wraiths in his main and sandwich those carriers from either side. Yeah, Bisu doesn't have the ground forces to stop this army from just rampaging across the middle of the map. His carriers, I think, are going to get stuck. I think his carriers are going to get stuck there in the natural expansion. They have nowhere to go that Goliath can't get to them. He's running into some turrets on one spot, and oh no, where can he go? He can't go anywhere. Up Magic has taken that bottom middle base that used to be that Bisu kind of tried to claim. And now he's going to move across the map with this giant tank army, a handful of Goliaths sticking with them and some vultures. Oh no, the sieging up. Is he going to be able to... Oh no, I thought it was maybe a little too early to siege, because then the Zealots were able to get too close. He's got too many Goliaths and not enough vultures to deal with it. And the Goliaths are now engaging with the carriers, though. It looks like the carriers are going to be able to escape. The carriers are going to be able to escape because... maybe not all of them, actually. The Goliaths are trying to chase them down. But... crucially, he's been building so many Goliaths that he didn't have the ground support and just sieged up his tanks at the exact wrong time. I think if he'd stayed unsieged a little bit longer and actually just killed off all those Zealots with unsieged tanks, which actually have a very high DPS even unsieged, and then sieged up to deal with the Dragoons, I think that would have been a much better battle for him. But instead, he sieged up early. The Zealots just obliterated a lot of his tanks. There weren't enough Goliaths to deal with the air army and the ground army at the same time, and just not able to deal with it. And he's actually targeting down some carriers, though. They're stuck in the middle of the map, though, but it just doesn't have enough Goliaths. It's interesting he has a few Corsairs now. That's kind of cute. He's got Corsairs accompanying his accompany his carriers in order so that if a new group of wraiths come in, the handful of corsairs could do a lot of damage to the wraiths before they're able to kill off the observers. So that's a nice little addition to his army. Not super expensive to add in a few corsairs, and then he's able to defend against a lot of wraiths. Looks like he has maybe only 2 corsairs, but Up Magic has lost a lot of forces recently. I think this could be a really bad situation for Up Magic actually, because Bisu has rebuilt his ground force. Okay, another group of Goliaths coming in from the south means that he's going to be able to maintain control over those carriers. He's attacking into them, and this is a really interesting situation where the tanks are not quite within range to attack those the Dragoons, so he can't quite get super close to those carriers in order to attack them. But if he falls back with the Goliaths, Bisu also can't quite pursue the Goliaths with his Dragoons because the Dragoons will die to the tanks. So just a lot of back and forth play, a lot of back and forth micro going on in the middle of the map here, trying to deal with each other's armies in the most effective way possible. And that is exactly the wrong time for those SCVs to be going to that base. The observers spotted the idle SCVs in the bottom right like 4 or 5 times, kind of noting the fact that he had workers that weren't doing anything. And Up Magic got the hint and sent them all to this base to their deaths, because now they're all gonna go down. Are those Dragoons trapped though? Are the tanks there? Yes, the Dragoons are trapped. There's nowhere they can go. The Goliaths are able to... I don't know if there's enough Goliaths to deal with the carriers though, actually. Normally the Goliaths can hold off the carriers, and then the tanks will be able to pin in those Dragoons, but I think he just may not have enough Goliaths. The carrier count has gotten up so high that he has more carriers than Goliaths at this point, actually. And that could spell the end for Up Magic. Up Magic's fighting with a skeleton crew right now, and Bisu playing the part of the... playing the part of the cleric is going to be casting... casting some anti-undead spells on the skeleton crew. Get it? See where I'm going with that? That Up Magic is fighting with. Up Magic still does have 3 bases mining though. He completely lost his natural expansion, but Bisu has taken a lot of the map, and so I feel like Bisu does have the advantage here. And is he building wraiths? I didn't see if that was going on. Oh no, Bisu attacking the bottom right base as well. If he loses that, that's going to be really, really terrible. And yeah, we're seeing that Bisu just doesn't. Up Magic doesn't have the forces to actually deal with these assaults, and the carriers are now just in the main base. Once he kills off a few of those factories, the ability to make Goliaths fast enough to deal with these carriers is going to be completely just not able to cope. And he has a few factories in his 3rd base area that are going to be able to produce some units, but it's just, yeah, he's just rampaging around now. There's nothing he can do. He only crucially has 1 observer there, so theoretically he could do some Wraith shenanigans again, but I think it's too late for the Wraith shenanigans. He only had a couple Wraiths left, and he's just going to kill off those starports just for good measure. No, he's actually going to ignore the starports and just keep going for what matters, which is these factories. Up Magic trying one last desperate push across the map with the forces he has left, trying to do a bit of a base trade scenario. Moving across the map, and he does have a significant force, but I think that Bisu's probably just going to be able to rampage with these carriers as 1 force, and then have his ground army be another force, and just slowly deal with these. Yeah, because there's only a couple tanks there, so all he needs to do is run in Zealots and Dragoons, and they're going to be able to do really, really well against these Goliaths. And it looks like it's going to take out another base of Bisu's. He's going to be able to take out this expansion base, but Bisu is just rampaging around the map, just unabated with his carrier count, which is up to like 12 carriers. Once you get 12 carriers, unless you're maxed out Terran, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah, he's got a lot of Goliaths, but it's just, I don't think it's going to be enough. Up Magic trying to move around the map to pick off what he can with this ground army. Looks like he might even be able to make a dent on Bisu's bases and take out this top left base as well. Just attack moving those Goliaths. He's got enough he can do that. And he's going to take out the top left base as well, actually. But I just feel like right now Bisu has too much going for him. He's got the stronger army. I think Bisu knows. Oh, look at that. He's got like 8 observers. Oh, he's got like 8 observers with those carriers now. He's like, all right, I see the second starports. Well, I mean, he had to know that was there, but he doesn't want to lose. And this is actually really smart, because if it comes down to a base trade where it's just, the army versus the army, and they both have a few buildings left, and a handful of cloak wraiths, if he only had 1 observer, could win the day, because if you don't have the ability to make more units and make more observers, you just lose the attrition game. And so he says, all right, you know what? Before I lose everything, I'm just going to make non-stop observers out of my robotics facility, and make sure I can't get caught with a quick comsat and attack. And there's the DTs are going to finish the job because he has no detection. Handful of mines are not going to do it. And he's like, I'm going to defeat you at your own game. You want to get cloaked units and secure the win with cloaked units? Well, guess what? 2 can play at that game. I've actually been playing the StarCraft campaign. There we go. There's the GG coming from Up Magic. Bisu's going to go up 2 games to 1 in this series. I've been playing on Twitch. I've been playing the campaign. I decided, since it's like the 10-year anniversary of StarCraft 2, I'm playing through the campaign from vanilla StarCraft on through StarCraft 2. I'm going to do all the campaigns in a row and kind of observe the plot of the entire arc of the entire series all at once in context. And I've been playing StarCraft 1, and it's funny because DTs are a StarCraft Brood War unit. So the entire campaign for StarCraft 1, you don't have to worry about DTs at all. There's no cloaked units for the Protoss army except when you have Arbiters. Actually, are Arbiters a Brood War unit? No, they're not. I don't think they are. Pretty sure they're not. No, because the Corsair is the air unit that is the Brood War unit. Anyway, but yeah, so this is Brood War, and so Protoss has cloaked units, and so Bisu's going to make use of that to secure the game. Not going to have to deal with any kind of final late game base trade scenario. I mean, it was a complete base trade, but I think Bisu's army probably would have won the day in that. It's interesting though because like it depends on the battlefield. It looked like Up Magic did have a significant amount of Goliaths, and if he'd forced an engagement in the middle of the map where the carriers didn't have a terrain feature to fall back over to stay safe, and just you can attack and micro to get your interceptors out, do some damage, fall back, let your shields regen or stop the targeting of the Goliaths. So it's an interesting situation where Up Magic may have had the advantage in the army, and if it came down to just one final battle, Up Magic may have been able to actually win the day just by sheer Goliath superiority against the carriers. I'm not sure how that would have gone. He may have had enough carriers to just simply defeat the Goliath straight up. It's hard to say. But in any case, Bisu circumvents that possibility of there being a final battle that he could potentially lose and just goes in with a few DTs and wins the day that way. So a little surprising that I guess that Up Magic didn't expect that in that late game base trade, but there wasn't a lot he could do about it either. His comm stations were all being killed off. He was trying to rebuild in another part of the map, but he really would have needed a science vessel, I guess, actually, or maybe even a few science vessels, because otherwise he could have gone in and killed off the science vessels and won with DTs the exact same way that the race could kill off the observers and then win. So interesting situation. Anyway, really cool game, really close game actually, back and forth, really exciting series. I can't wait for game number 4.